Yeah, welcome into the Thursday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We got a whole lot going on today's program. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us a little bit later in the program. We'll get his thoughts on all things Titans, all things NFL. That's coming up at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit. We'll have the best and worst things in sports later this hour at 6:45. I will lay out my plan for what the Titans will do this weekend to take down the Indianapolis Colts in the 7 o'clock hour. And the Nashville Predators opening up training camp today. Hockey season is back, so we will get into that a little bit later in the show as well. Joe Rexrode, fresh off the Pixies concert. How we doing? Good morning. What's going on?
Aha, there goes the unmute. We're doing well. The show was great. For anybody who's been to the Pinnacle's great. The guy checking IDs said he enjoys listening to us in the morning. So
That's good
there
to know.
you go. That's right.
Shout out him.
There you go. So yeah, very good show. So that's my third time seeing them. So and you can't miss the Pixies if you have a chance, but starting at 9 is a little. There were two opening bands, which is a little much. So the set not starting until 9 on a school night, that's a little dicey. But I guess that's what we've been talking about all week, right? Stuff that just starts ridiculously late. So
hey, at least it wasn't 11. You're gonna be dealing with that on Saturday.
Yeah, well, some people will. Good luck to them. But another thing meanwhile, I was also kind of annoyed because, I was out, went with some friends and got food, got pizza and stuff before, but I'm, trying to stream the Tigers game the whole night. And the Detroit Tigers could potentially be on their way to one of the all-time chokes. Now, if they win today, then it's probably moved, but they've lost 2 straight to Cleveland. Their lead is down to 4.5. They've led that division by 16.5. They have Cleveland at Cleveland for 3 more after this. So if Cleveland wins today, it's 3.5.
Oh boy.
With 9 to play, with 3 games at Cleveland, which is insane because, of course, the Tigers used to have the biggest lead, and now they might not even end up with the third best record in the American League. So just, I know people said that they're Tigers fans now. I just want to give you an update in case you haven't been following along. This is we're getting to crisis level here.
I've got complete faith in them. They're getting their rough stretch out of the way right now. They're gonna get it back together here in a game or two, and they'll be full bore by the time the playoffs run around here in Major League Baseball. I've got entirely good faith in the Detroit Tigers, no doubt about it. Ian Safar, good morning. How are you? What's going on?
Good morning. I'm doing great, thanks. Excited for the NFL to kick off tonight, I suppose, and get things started.
Yeah, what a game we've got for us this evening. The Bills and the Dolphins. I believe the Bills are an 11.5-point favorite. Yes, 11.5 points.
Should be a fun one.
The favorites tonight on Thursday Night Football, Joe. So that'll be good.
Yeah, this feels more like a old school bad Thursday Night Football game. I don't understand the logic. Even when the Dolphins have been good, they just get destroyed by the Bills.
Yeah.
Was it a couple of years ago, right? Like they put 70 in the Broncos, like they were rolling. It was like, oh my gosh. And they go up to Buffalo and they look like, they just look like the most of what the Dolphins have looked like for the past 20 years. So why, I don't know if anybody realized they'd be as bad as they are, but even if they were good at Buffalo, it's not a competitive game.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go very well for them. And I do think that Mike McDaniel may have a strong case for the coach, the first coach that gets fired this year. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but they look bad. And we've talked about some of the issues that they've got going on with them. But yeah, 7:15 tonight, the Buffalo Bills looking to go 3-0. I mean, Josh Allen broke his nose last week, so I don't know. Maybe he can't see straight out there tonight or something, and he's off on a few passes. So they only win by 9 instead of 30, which is what I'm expecting tonight.
Yeah, he just got that reset real fast, went right back out there. I mean, the Jets and the Dolphins back to back, like for him, it's
Yeah, good for
basically
him.
like I mean, it's just basically like he gets to play catch, for a couple straight weeks with the broken nose, I guess. No, that's too bad. And on the college front, you really don't have. It's Rice and Charlotte is the only game.
Get excited.
Yeah, there have been some decent Thursday weeks, but don't worry because on Friday you get Iowa Rutgers.
Oh, good.
So at least if you can hold out 24 hours to Iowa Rutgers, get that at Fox 7:00 Friday.
Well, don't
That's exciting.
overlook Tulsa and Oklahoma State as well. Gundy out there. He might actually win that game. We'll see. There's only a 12.5 point favorite against Tulsa.
At home. Yeah, that's man. There's another guy who I don't know if he gets fired this year, but this has got to be it for him, right?
I mean, you would think it's got to be pretty close. Like, I understand that he's the guy in that program and that they've loved him for a long time, but at some point, like, doesn't you just wear out your welcome somewhere eventually? Like, he's been there for 20 some odd years.
Yeah. Well, this would be one of those things where they try to make it so he steps down,
right,
quote unquote, on his own, and they'd figure it out with the buyout, and then it's like he can have a good finish because he has meant a lot, but it's gotten pretty bad. Gotten pretty bad there.
Joe, we can confirm that Rams head coach Sean McVay, who injured himself on the sideline at Nissan Stadium on Sunday against the Titans, will not need foot surgery. That has now been reported. After tearing the plantar fascia in his left foot while calling a timeout in the win against the Titans on Sunday. No worries. Sean McVay's good. No surgery required.
I think I have a foot thing.
Well, that's good. I mean, have you guys ever had plantar fasciitis?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I had it for a summer. Of course I did. Had most ailments, but it's awful, man. I mean, the pain of just having plantar fasciitis. I'm trying to think of tearing the. I didn't even really think that was. I don't know that I've even heard of that. Tearing the plantar fascia.
Yeah, I don't know.
Guess maybe fasciitis is like a partial tear. I guess, right? Maybe that's. But that sounds awful. But good for him.
I'm just glad there's no surgery. I don't know that I've heard of a coach in the National Football League, much less like a 39-year-old coach, tears plantar fascia calling a timeout in the NFL. It just shows that how committed Sean McVay is.
He loves ball, man.
Like if you told me Rex Ryan did that at one point, I'd be like, "Yep, all right, that sounds good." Sean McVay's in good shape, man. He's young pup out there.
Yeah, I think Rex Ryan in any foot story probably would fly. I'd probably believe it. Sorry.
What was more painful, plantar fasciitis or gout?
Gout.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
So plantar fasciitis, nothing compared to the gout.
No, it hurts, it hurts, but you can stretch it out and, you wake up in the morning, it's really it's like needles, but then you can kind of get that better. But yeah, if you get the gout, man, it's just there until you flush it out,
Another NFL news, Brock Purdy, quote, has a chance to return this week for the San Francisco 49ers as they take on the Arizona Cardinals. Mac Jones, playing quarterback for San Francisco last week, Joe, did a nice job stepping in there. Luckily for the 49ers, they were playing the New Orleans Saints, so they were able to get away with Brock Purdy not playing in the game and Mac Jones getting out there and looking like a competent quarterback under Kyle Shanahan and company, but there is at least a chance that Brock Purdy could be out there again this week as they take on divisional rival, the 2-0 Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, definitely don't want to overreact at all. But, I mean, Mac Jones did look good.
He did.
I know that some people, like when Brock Purdy was coming up, it's like, yeah, like any quarterback could look good, in that system with all those guys. I'm like, well, but Trey Lance didn't, so not any could look good. But I don't know.
I mean,
Mac
279, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so what? Third stop for him? Maybe he's just a third stop guy. Quarterback controversy.
Maybe so. I mean, look, what is he? 27 probably? 27. That's how old he is. So he's a young guy in the NFL. I mean, he could have another 10 years left in him, Joe. We could see Mac Jones circling the league for a long time, or excuse me, McCorkle. which is his middle name, Michael McCorkle Jones.
That's a great name. Hey, man, I mean, think about it. Like there was a time when there was so much hope for him, and he was, he and Belichick were going to get that thing going. And then, I do like, I feel like anybody should get some kind of grace or asterisk if like most of their issues have been around Matt Patricia. Although I know everybody now thinks he's a genius again. So because his defense did not as well against Arch Manning as UTEP did.
Yeah, exactly.
Despite 5 stars at every position, but he's great now.
615.
I don't know how this turns into a rip on Matt Patricia, but it usually isn't too far from that.
I mean, he's catching them. It's not even a stray. Like it's a direct shot.
Just right turn right into Matt Patricia.
That's right. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We are off and running on Robby and Rexrode. We will have our best and worst things in sports coming up later this hour. Coming up next, we'll get into the Titans, and Joe's got a very simple question. If you're Brian Callahan and you're looking for some help, what's out there when it comes to this roster? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Saturday's college football game of the week is Auburn taking on Oklahoma at 2:30 on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circa Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We will have our best and worst things in sports later this hour at 6:45, so we'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports coming up at 8 o'clock. So, Joe, let me just be clear. I totally misinterpreted the topic you were throwing out there on the last segment. So let me just go ahead and revise that real quick. We're not going to talk about the roster right now, but we can if you want to. What I'm looking at, tell me if I'm wrong. Are you referring to Callahan if this doesn't work out? Who is actually out there to get excited about?
Yeah, so in other words,
can't read, sorry. That's what the real story is here.
Well, or it's that I try to do riddles instead of just like spelling out a topic clearly. So I just noticed this question a fair amount, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, that's irrelevant. But then I thought about it, I was like, well, it is. I mean, it is part of the equation, which is okay. So not everybody, but a lot of people, more people, an increasing number of people want Callahan out. So is there anybody out there that people are excited about? Because, like, again, last year, Ben Johnson, for example, there's an obvious one, and it had been a couple of years with him. Sometimes guys stay, and then you build up the momentum, and I feel like there's guys like that every year, and I feel like this year, it's just things will develop this season, but like there's no one. If you want to keep doing this, which is okay, offensive coach, quarterback related play caller, right? If that's what you want to keep doing, I think it's really slim pickings. Now, I know sometimes people fire someone and they immediately look for the opposite in some way. So, okay, there are defensive guys out there. I mean, I think, Flores is going to get another shot at some point, I think. There's other, like, even Vance Joseph, does he get another shot? The Ravens DC, there's people like that. But is that, again, with Cam Ward, do you have to have the QB play calling coach, or is it okay to look for someone else, to look for more of a quote unquote culture coach if you're firing him? And again, I know I'm moving ahead, but I'm really I think this is part of the equation too. It's a lesser part, but it's part of it, which is, okay, what would be out there to be excited about?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I will tell you the name that I have, and there's a couple of them that I've heard the most often from Titans fans that I have seen either online or that we've seen on our text line, or who some of my friends have even talked about. The name that I've heard the most is the name that is not going to happen, and that is John Gruden. Like, I feel like John Gruden he's going to be everybody's next head coach. Like, Virginia Tech fans are talking about him. Florida fans are talking about him. Apparently, it's big time groomer season going on right now. So that ain't happening. I mean, he's in a lawsuit with the NFL. It's not going to happen here. So you can forget about John Gruden. John Gruden is not happening. So
like the Flores stuff, like, I think that's, kind of, but I think the Gruden stuff right now that's not, like you said, he's going to be a college coach.
Yeah.
I think next year. But yeah, you're right. That is the name I've heard.
That's the name I've heard the most. The one I've heard next most, and there's another one right now. Shane on Twitter says 4 letters, 1 word, Cliff Kingsbury. And look, what he's done in Washington is very impressive, right? Like, that offense last year with Jaden Daniels as a rookie was really good. And we talked to Charles Robinson about it. Some of the stuff they were doing with him was awesome. And we'll see what that looks like this year with him as well. I also know, Joe, that Cliff Kingsbury, both as a head coach in college and as a head coach in the NFL, didn't do a whole lot of winning, right? There's not a whole lot of winning that's gone on with Cliff Kingsbury as a head coach. Now, look, he's a young guy, and just because he was a head coach in college and the NFL before and it didn't necessarily work out all that great, doesn't mean that eventually he can't turn into that guy. But just me personally, those are the 2 names that I see Titans fans discussing the most. Gruden, which ain't happening, and Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, I'd be a real buyer beware on Cliff Kingsbury. He's a smart guy, and obviously it's gone well. I do look at that and it's like, how much of that is, is it him making the player look good or the player making him look good?
Right.
I think that's a fair question to ask. Like you said, he hasn't had success. And also I think he's it's a very similar probably vibe and everything, right? Again, maybe that's kind of what if you're going that route, most of them are young guys and they're kind of, more of the laid back approach, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
But boy, it just seems so similar. Hey, if you believe that he's really good and that's a big upgrade for Cam, then okay, fine. But I don't know, man. I think Jaden Daniels might be making him look good. Joe Brady is also, the Bills OC. Some people he took over for Ken Dorsey midway through 23. And so it's like, how much credit does he get for sort of elevating things? They were actually struggling a bit at that point, which is hard to even remember.
Yep.
But they have had ups and downs. It's been really good. So he's another one. He's very young too. Not sure I don't think he's in his 40s. There are people already talking about this Josh Grizzard. Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Apparently
head coach factory. Yeah.
Well, yeah. First of all, Todd Bowles must be pretty good. He keeps losing these, these OCs, and he's like, all right, come on, you come in here too, and I'll get you a head coaching job. Obviously Baker. There's another probably example too of a quarterback making a OC look better. But I just like these are not, to me. They are. Brian Callahan and his hiring cycle was better on paper than these guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think to your overall point, I don't know if there is like the one guy out there where you're going to be like, yes, him. You have to go get him, right? Like if everybody had their choice last year, Ben Johnson was the name, right? It was like, well, we got to go get Ben Johnson. And we know he got paid an exorbitant amount of money from the Chicago Bears.
And the year before, he stood up Washington and they
Exactly.
were ready to give him half their franchise. That was a year earlier.
Exactly.
Totally different than now.
There's no one like that. And look, I have no idea how good or not good Ben Johnson is going to be. We're 2 games in Chicago, and he clearly doesn't like some of the things going on with his team. But we're a long way from seeing the finished product with Ben Johnson. But the point is, if you're a Titans fan and you're wondering where this is all going here with Brian Callahan, I don't know if there's one guy you point to right now that's like, it has to be him. I don't know that guy exists at the moment. Doesn't mean there's not, good head coaching candidates out there. And it doesn't mean you can't find somebody that ends up coming in and doing a great job. But there's nobody like Ben Johnson that people are just clamoring for as of this moment.
Right. So someone asked about Monken. Yeah. Nagy. Jeff from Nashville said, well, if you make the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky, you're probably a good coach. Yeah. I suppose that there is something fair. Someone bringing up Jay Gruden. When's the last time he worked in the league?
I don't know.
You got to go for Gruden light.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
That's not the Gruden I expected to hear today. Yeah.
No. McCarthy is brought up a lot. And it's right. Obviously there's a history with Borgonzi. You know him well. You probably thought he was a better, maybe you still do, coach than LaFleur for a long time. About him.
Well, look, I think McCarthy is a good coach. Now, some of the in-game stuff sometimes, like just in terms of your normal head coach, why in the world is he not calling a timeout? Or what does he not understand that the clock is ticking? Some of those things happen with McCarthy sometimes that get a little weird. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good offensive guy. I don't know that he would be my first choice. I think you could do a whole lot worse than Mike McCarthy. Let me put it that way. But I don't know that I'd be sitting here if I'm the Titans right now thinking to myself, well, you know what? We got to get rid of Ryan Callahan because Mike McCarthy's out there and we better strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah. It's like, I like that probably better than the idea of another exact same type of hire, the OC, and let's hope it works out. I just feel, I feel like it's starting to tilt a little bit toward more and more of these guys aren't working out, A lot of them still do. But that's the thing, too. It's because of Cam Ward, do you have to have that profile of coach? What would, if you have a really good, culture coach. Basically, everybody on defense, people look at him that way, right? I mean, it's not necessarily the case, but like someone's throwing out Jesse Minter, which is amazing because like 2 years ago he was Clark-Lee's DC at Vandy.
Yeah.
But that's how it works. I mean, you shoot up so fast as a hot coordinator, and sometimes it's just because you happen to have so much at your disposal. I mean, Arthur Smith is something people are throwing out there. Arthur Smith's good. I think he's a good OC. It didn't go well as a head coach, but when he got himself elevated, look at what he had to work with here.
No, I agree. And look, and you can make the argument on the Arthur Smith front of when he was the head coach in Atlanta. Look what he had to work with. I mean, it was
He
Marcus
should have gone better. Yeah.
and Desmond Ritter.
Oh, well, that's true. Yes, at quarterback for
Right.
sure. Yes, they had skill that they didn't take advantage of. Which,
Sure,
so people
yeah.
blamed him. But there's another example? Like, well, or is it because he didn't have the guy throwing the ball?
615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. If the Titans have to end up moving off of Brian Callahan at some point, is there anybody out there that's actually exciting? If you're a Titans fan, we'll take your thoughts on that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Later today on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, the Nashville Sounds take on Louisville with first pitch at 5:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. By the way, Joe, we have a vote for could Josh Heupel make the move up to the NFL on the YouTube channel?
Ooh, I see Heupel and Clarkley. There you go. You got successful college coaches. By the way, I know we've talked about both, I think, separately, but I actually don't think either one of those guys would go to the NFL. Heupel would be more likely, I think, but I think they're lifetime college guys.
I don't think the NFL is calling Josh Heupel. That's just me. I think there's too many differences in the way the offenses are run from what he does in college to what you can do in the NFL. I don't think he would be on the NFL's radar.
Yeah, there was some buzz in 22. Just if you're that dominant with your offense, right? And it's like, and you have all these players, it's like looks like you're developing all these players and having them play over their heads. But it would take like that kind of run, because like you said, like you're certainly going to have to tailor it to the rules, and it's going to be very different.
Right.
But Josh Heupel is also, he has coached other schemes too.
Yeah, he has. I'm just saying, like, I don't
got him fired at Oklahoma, but he's still
I was just going to say, like, yeah. So, like, I don't know that I'd worry about that if I was a Tennessee fan. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, it kind of feels like Heupel and Lee are college guys, and they're where they're going to be for the foreseeable future here. Like, I'm looking around, a lot of thoughts about McCarthy. Like, again, I think he's a good coach, and he's won a Super Bowl. That's the first thing people are going to point to. I get it. That was a long time ago at this point.
Did he develop Rodgers?
If you want to give him credit for some of that, sure. Yeah. Like, I think, the thing is, though, like, the moment Rodgers stepped in, like, as a starter, he was just really good, right? Like, it just from the opening jump that he stepped in, he was really good. So, I mean, you could give McCarthy some credit for that, I guess, but I just think it was more the case of the dude sat there for 3 years, and by the time he sat in there, he was ready to go. Like McCarthy with the Cowboys, that would be probably the thing I would look at the most. Like, what do we make of that? Because, I mean, early on, especially, they won a lot of games, right? Like, he won a lot of games as the head coach of the Cowboys.
Performance.
And then it would fall apart in the playoffs, right? And I know, look, if you're a Titans fan, you're like, well, cool, let's fall apart in the playoffs. Let's get there,
playoffs.
Right? Like exactly. Like, I'm not worried about the playoffs right now. Let's eventually worry about that. So I understand that part of it. Again, I'm not, diametrically opposed to the idea of Mike McCarthy. I don't know that I would put him in the category of, oh, yes, Mike McCarthy must have. Like, they got to go hire Mike McCarthy for Cam Ward.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad option, but it's not, to me, exciting. Because, look, a lot of times, too, I mean, everybody's, again, copycatting, trying to keep up constant cycle, all that. But also some people, a few years ago maybe had more answers than they do now, right? And things like that. I still think the biggest answer is talent. Jeff from Nebraska says, how depressing is it that it's a September 18th and we're talking about head coaching candidates for the Titans? What a miserable existence. Yeah, but again, I think this is just something to consider in the whole discussion of, and I'm not saying this is what, you keep Brian Callahan no matter what, but I do think sometimes just fire in whatever job in sports, fire this person without any, sort of idea of who might clearly be an upgrade, sometimes it's not the best move.
And here's the other side of this, because I know we don't want to talk about this all the time. And what about, like, how do people view the Titans? Like, let's use McCarthy as the same example, right? Like, is he wanting to get back in the league and be a head coach no matter what, no matter where it is? Or is McCarthy going to be, like, relatively selective about the jobs that he would take? And if so, like, where do the Titans fall on that? Because, like, from the outside, let's say they do fire Brian Callahan.
from the outside looking in, you're looking at a roster that's not very good. You're looking at an organization that's done a whole lot of losing over the last few years. And you're also, Joe, looking at an organization that has fired people all the time, right? Like it's been a revolving door of people getting fired. Now, it's one of 32, and we talk about that all the time. Like you'll find somebody to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. But are you attracting the best candidates who have options? That is what I want to know. And if does Cam Ward at the end of the year, is he enough of a factor in that where you are attracting the best candidates who have options because they look at your franchise and they say, well, there's a lot of things I don't like, but they do have a quarterback I feel pretty good about, and that's ultimately the biggest part of it.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge part of it because obviously I know it's different ownership, but like Washington's dysfunction was just decades.
Right.
And then that quarterback all of a sudden it looks like a different job. Yeah, I mean, I see people on here too doing the hope like Tomlin. Is this finally it for Tomlin? Tomlin and Byron Leftwich, says Ron.
All right.
AI version of Bill Walsh. That's not a bad idea.
Okay.
Guy who made a pretty good quarterback, Joe Montana, amazing. So, all right, that's overstated. No, I mean you're right. It's like the attractiveness of the job. It is 132, but like whether you believe him at all or not, like if this does go bad for Brian Callahan, I guarantee you that like in his conversations with his circle, it's like, yeah, that I shouldn't have taken that one, because
he probably already thinks that deep down.
Well, yeah, it's like I think he could have gotten the Carolina job. Now at that time, and I guess you could still say it now, like if you want to talk about ownership issues, right? Like that's probably the most poisonous place you could ever choose to go. But also, I mean, that meant he was also choosing Will Levis over Bryce Young. I know Bryce Young now it's back to, I don't know, it's not great. I kind of thought maybe they'd start, going in the other direction, but still like that's, I mean, I would never do that. Pick Will Levis over Bryce Young. I never would have for sure. I mean, I guess I still wouldn't now, but it's just that maybe neither of them would be near the top of who I'd choose.
Yeah, like again, it's not like the Titans aren't going to find a head coach because they're one of 32. And I think sometimes the how attractive is the job part of this gets overblown in the NFL. But I will say, like, there are certain franchises you look at and it's like, like let's go back to the Ben Johnson example. Like, is Ben Johnson taking just any job? Clearly not. He didn't take the Washington job, right? So like now you could make the argument.
He made an interesting choice.
Yeah, I was like, why did you go to the Bears? Like, but I know why he went to the Bears. It's the quarterback. Like, he's got belief in Caleb Williams. So maybe that's all it takes for the Titans. Yeah, at least he did have belief in Caleb Williams. At the end of the day, if Cam Ward's good this year and there's enough positive signs, even if let's say their record is just awful and they end up moving on from Callahan, but you look at the film and you look at the tape of Cam Ward and you're like, you know what? I can work with this guy. Well, that's probably going to be as important or more important than anything else when it comes down to it. So you've at least got that hopefully in your back pocket if you're the Titans. There's a lot when you start talking about, and I think this is kind of the general point I'm making. When you start talking about the bad franchises in the NFL right now, right? Like the Browns are always going to come up. The Jets are always going to come up. I mean, up until recently, the Lions would have come up, and they've flipped that.
That'll happen again soon.
But like right now, you're one of them, right? Like I don't think there's any doubt. Like right now, the Titans are one of those bad franchises in the NFL. And it doesn't mean they have to always stay there, but that's where they're at right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, most people around the NFL, I know some Titans fans hate it, and they hate it being brought up, but most people around the NFL still think it was completely idiotic to fire Mike Vrabel.
Yes.
And most coaches think that, I promise you. And so, he's very respected I think on the coaching side of things. So it's like that alone, it's like, well, man, why am I going into that if that's the decision-making process? And then if you really look closely at all the volatility and then just consistent bad, it just seems like a top-down issue. So, but yeah, then it gets into so if there is a hot candidate, which again we have determined right now there isn't. Maybe Tampa Bay goes nuts and Baker has his best year, even better than last year, and this Grizzard, who's like 33
Yeah.
is like, oh, but I mean, I don't think that there's anybody that obvious. If there is someone, or if there are one or two who emerge, yeah, I think that their list would probably be if you're on the Titans, but Cam is that's the sweetener, right? Like if it's like, you know what, he's too good, and if you're that good there, you can overcome a lot of incompetence elsewhere. Maybe that tilts it back.
Here's what I'll say though, and I think a lot of Titans fans would probably disagree with this, and that's fine. I don't really if it goes poorly with Callahan the rest of the way and they end up having to move on. I am not married to the idea that the next head coach has to be like the next offensive play calling guru guy. Like, just go hire the best coach. Like, if you
I don't
like,
disagree.
yeah, like go hire the best coach. And look, if you run into the problem where you lose your offensive coordinator a year or two down the road because he's doing such a good job that he's getting a head coaching job, well, worry about that then. But let's get out of this crap that we're in right now. Go hire the best coach available if it comes to that. I'm not, if it's an offensive guy, great. But I'm not married to the idea that, well, you can't consider, like, I don't know, like, what if the Packers defense is like historically good this year and Jeff Hafley's a head coach next year? Like, if you think he's the best guy for the job, go get him. Like, I don't think it has to be an offensive guy.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Like if you're to me, if you're a really good coach, part of that is your eye for talent and hiring people.
Right.
So, right, like now look, that's, and by the way, that's, I think, probably the fairest of all the things. People want to put the injury stuff on him. I don't like he ran him into the ground. I think the fair criticism of Vrabel is some of his choices for assistant jobs, and that's how you get yourself in trouble with a defensive guy, is you make some bad hires on the other side of the ball, and that, although the talent was a big part of it too. But yeah, look, like I would trust Mike Tomlin to have, he knows everybody in the league, he's been head coach forever, to be able to bring in a good coordinator.
We do have a vote from a Dolphins fan on Twitter, Joe, that says, yeah, Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel be a good spot for the Titans to go get.
There you go.
Anything to get him out of here. Go to the Titans.
Run the analytics department.
Maybe so. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll have the best and worst things in sports coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
The best and worst of the sports week. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is the worst. You look like you're feeling sorry for yourself. I believe in miracles. Yes! Unbelievable.
He's one of one. He is him.
This is a Coke bottle. It's not a crystal ball.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Okay, let's go.
It is that time of the week, time for the best and worst things in sports. We'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe Rexrode, kick us off with your best and worst things in the world of sports.
To motivate, because you could make this the worst. The fact that the Detroit Tigers are completely choking. They've let a 16.5 game lead get down to 4.5 with 10 games left. Cleveland still has 3 games at home, plus Cleveland's at Detroit today. They are threatening to have one of the biggest all-time collapses in baseball history. But it's the best thing in sports because Terry Skubal goes today. He's on the mound. All he has to do is win one game, and it's basically over. That's my best thing. They're not going to send me into a complete and utter panic because they're going to win today. So there you go. Those are my best in sports. My worst, this is we could talk about this more. I just have to quickly say, so Nashville SC, it's awesome. They have advanced to the Open Cup final, October 1st, which is great. They've had an incredible year. Sam Surridge is he's going to be the MVP. But in this release, it says Nashville SC has the chance to become the first professional sports team in history to win a championship. I just, again, I'll expose my soccer ignorance, but I don't think this would count as that. So that's my worst.
Yeah, we could get down a whole rabbit hole with that. It's like, well, a championship. First off, there's like 1,000 tournaments in soccer. Secondly, I've talked about this before, and I know this makes some of my Nashville SC friends mad, but I'm sorry. It's the way I feel. Like, Major League Soccer, and I realize this is not exclusively a Major League Soccer tournament, but Major League Soccer is like the 8th best soccer league in the world, depending on who you ask. Like, some people think it's like 11th. So I'm sorry. It's not the same thing as winning a championship in the NFL or the NHL. I'm sorry. It's just not. So if you want to get mad at me at that, that's fine.
Get mad at us both.
Get mad. Ian Safar, your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Although there's a couple of good ones here this week. I won't steal all of them for you, Robby.
Do whatever you want.
No, the Vrabel sideline.
That's pretty sweet.
Rundown.
Nice.
Legit. Obviously the Cam Ward touchdown. Pretty legit as far as best. I think I'm going to go a double. I'm going to pull a Joe here. Go double best and worst for the same guy. How about this New York Giants tackle? James Hudson, 4 penalties on the opening drive, 2 unnecessary roughness, 2 false starts, almost got pulled, then got pulled, slapped a dude in the face.
It was unbelievable.
It was, it was hilarious. Just glorious. So I'm going to go with that guy. Best and worst in the same week, in the same drive. Nicely done,
Nice.
New York Giants tackle James Hudson.
I love it.
He wanted to fight some dudes on his team too.
He did. It was pretty incredible.
It was hilarious. It was so funny.
I have to so I just saw this a few minutes ago. I remember this is my best thing because it's hilarious to me. I remember when Lincoln Riley took the USC job, and he talked about, I think the quote he used was making it the mecca of college football again, the Coliseum out there. Well, they got a game, as you know, against Michigan State this week, Joe. And Lincoln Riley has put a statement out along with Chad Bowden, the general manager of USC football, that basically when you read through it is like begging fans to show up for the game. It's like, our students have to be the tip of the spear. It's going to be late. It's going to be dark. It's going to be a battle. But if we work together, it will be unforgettable out there at the Coliseum. So basically nobody's showing up to watch USC play, and now they're having to write letters to the fans to get people out there for Lincoln Riley and how much of the mecca of college football he's going to turn it into.
That, you know what? I'm so glad I didn't see that. I've had so many, I think, USC fans screaming at me in the comments of this column I wrote about it. And it's like, it's like, oh, no one ever cares about us out here. Why don't we get a? I'm like, you're telling me that you want a game at 8 p.m. that lets out about midnight? I don't think anybody's out there used to that. They're used to like, yeah, it's a 5 o'clock. That's perfect.
Right.
8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock local. You can go out and have a late dinner after the game. I mean, I don't, and I think that's what we're going to see is a terrible. It's not going to be UCLA levels where like the greatest stadium in the country has 10 people because it takes the students an hour to bus from the UCLA campus, but it might be rough. It's people out there, man. It's hard to get, especially at those massive stadiums that are way too big now.
Big Ten after dark. Didn't quite have the
Yeah.
same feel to it as the Pac-12 after dark.
No, and the Pac-12 doesn't even exist, so I guess this is what we have to settle for.
My worst thing in sports, Joe, something I thought we were done with in the NFL, and now it looks like we may get a double dose of it this weekend. I know Carson Wentz is going to play football this weekend, and there's a pretty good chance Marcus Mariota is going to play some football this weekend too. Jaden Daniels is hurt, dealing with a knee injury. No guarantee as to whether or not he's missing the game, but there's a chance we would have to watch Carson Wentz and Marcus Mariota play football this weekend, Joe, and I am not here for it.
Oh, man, that should be a best.
No.
The Marcus part, pretty good quarterback.
No, I've seen him enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to watch a whole lot more.
It
Great
is
guy.
another. Yeah. Well, another on top of that, just like, I mean, Burrow could be a good worst, right? We're already getting
For sure.
Terrible injuries to quarterbacks and the key players in the league.
But specifically my eyes, I don't want to watch Carson Wentz and Marcus Mariota play football this weekend. I'm sorry.
I'd like a matchup of that. Think about like the incredible, what was that? That was Vrabel's first year, right? 2018.
Yeah.
Wentz was like coming off his MVP
That was a
year.
great game.
Marcus.
Yeah.
Oh, Marcus to Corey Davis. My goodness. 7 years later, it's like, please no more. Good best from Mark and Ashley City is Vandy. I think Vandy football is a good
sure.
best. He also says the worst is Billy Napier's continued employment for my beloved Gators.
Well, that
May not be long.
it's probably going to take another hit this weekend as they take on Miami on the road. So pretty good chance Florida's dropping to 1-3. We'll see what that looks like this weekend. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I've said it multiple times this week. The Tennessee Titans are beating the Indianapolis Colts. We'll explain how it's going to happen and some fuel added to the fire yesterday in Indianapolis. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. We'll have the Rob Rant later this hour at 7:45. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. We will get into the Titans and all things NFL with him, so looking forward to that. Speaking of the Titans, big game against the Colts this weekend. AFC South matchup. I've told you the Titans are winning this game. Joe, I'm attaching a score to it as well. 24-21 will be the final. Titans will win 24-21 coming up on Sunday. And now
I love it.
We have some players in Indianapolis just stoking the fire a little bit. Just stoking that fire a little bit to set things up real nicely for a big-time performance from Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Linebacker Zaire Franklin was asked about the touchdown pass that Cam Ward threw on Sunday against the LA Rams. And here's what Franklin had to say about Cam Ward's pass.
I mean, I hope he throws that play again. Like, it wasn't a good throw. But, I mean, he's a talented player. So, you know, like I said, he can make all those throws. His arm angle, obviously, is exceptional. He's got a zip in the ball. Like I said, he's the number 1 overall pick for a reason. I was a fan of him when he was in college. But, you know, when you got a guy like that that's able to make plays, you know, you just got to make sure you stay on your assignments. But hopefully he throws the ball again.
Hopefully he throws it again. Hope he throws that pass again. It wasn't a good throw, he said. I think, Joe, what he meant was it wasn't a good decision. Because it was definitely a good throw, man. I don't know if you can throw the ball a whole lot better than Cam Ward threw that ball on Sunday. But here we are, Zaire Franklin, talking a little trash about Cam Ward.
Yeah, and I don't want to turn this into like just us yell, you know, like total WHMR, but it wasn't a bad decision either.
There's no defender on that side of the field.
Exactly. If there was someone, you know, over there who could have, you know, he made an incredible throw, if you remember last year in that Florida game.
Yeah.
Where I think he was drifting left and he just, but that was like, there was like a safety, you know, to the left of the play, like that almost was bad. Like that one you could say, ooh, incredible throw decision. I don't know. This was, to even get to the point of making the decision, is pretty remarkable. The throw itself was incredible. The decision was great. I don't understand what is Zaire Franklin, like, you know, like, I mean, I thought he knew ball. Does he not know ball? How can you love ball if you don't know ball?
I hope the Titans are soaking this in. And I hope there's some nice one-arm push-ups going on this week because, look, I'll take all the motivation Indianapolis wants to give, right? Like if they want to get out there and talk about how the quarterback, they hope he throws the ball. I hope he does too. Oh, Cam Ward throws for 375 yards on the Colts on Sunday. I mean, give them all the motivation you can give them. I am totally cool with it. So I feel even better about my pick, Joe, after I heard those comments from Zaire Franklin yesterday. Even better.
Man, I mean, if that's what passes for trash talk, that's actually a pretty disappointing week from the Colts. We may have to send the Titans some Ben and some Jordan from Franklin and other comments from the text line. Maybe that will actually help. I don't know why Indy Ben is. I think he's just afraid. He actually thinks they're going to. I think Indy Ben thinks the same thing you think.
Well, I hope so. Here's what I don't feel good about. J.C. Latham did not practice on Wednesday with the hip. We'll see what that looks like as the week goes on here. Tavondre Sweat was a limited participant with the ankle and said if it's up to him, he's playing on Sunday. So I guess you could expect to see Tavondre Sweat back in there this week, which will be good.
Sounds like it.
Because Jonathan Taylor, you know, has been very good to start this season. So, and that's both in the running game, and he's been a factor in the passing game for the Colts as well. So getting Sweat back in there will be a big deal. How about this one? And, you know, Paul Kowarski's put it out there that he doesn't think it's going to be that big of a deal and stop him from playing on Sunday. But L'Jarius Sneed with a back. He's on the injury report. It's not with a knee. Good. It's now with a back. So what do you make of that?
Well, yeah, the first thing I saw the injury report, I'm like, oh, my God, now it's a back. But, yes, Kowarski I take the way Kowarski played that down. You know, sometimes you got to read the tea leaves a little bit.
Yeah.
I take that as he got told pretty clearly that Sneed's playing.
Yeah.
That's how I take it. If he doesn't play, then Kowarski needs to mix up like his tweet tones. But I took that as he's not just guessing like he's going to be fine. But
Yeah.
still,
Let's monitor
yeah,
my tone.
back.
I was really hoping you'd play. Ian does not miss. He really does.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
You weren't monitoring your tone very much.
He does not miss. Does not miss. Zeitler also on the injury report with a bicep injury and did not practice on Wednesday. So another thing to monitor. I will feel less good about my pick, Joe, if Kevin Zeitler and JC Latham can't play on Sunday.
Yeah. The underrated struggle here so far to me for the Titans, and whatever you think of those numbers, they do sort of confirm it as Zeitler and Cushenberry have had some rough patches here early. Now, we understand Cushenberry. I didn't think he'd be just starting week 1 anyway. So
I give him a lot of grace.
I'm a little concerned about. Zeitler's been in this league for freaking ever, man.
Yeah,
and obviously, like the line. I have no idea. If you're a guy like that, usually you end up moving on. But still, like, I feel like if the Lions really want him and thought he had a lot left in the tank, they could have dealt with that before he got to free agency. A little bit concerned. Also, a biceps injury. I guess it's a strain then, right? But those never sound good, or I think lead to good things either.
No, that's when you're talking about a hip with Latham and a bicep with Zeitler. It's not great. Like, it's not what you want, especially this early into the year. So, we'll see. We'll see if Zeitler is able to get on the practice field before Friday rolls around. Same thing with Latham here, but hopefully at least one, but hopefully both of those guys will be available on Sunday against the Colts. Like, how do you win this game if you're the Titans? I think number one, you're going to have to run the ball. I thought they ran the ball okay against LA. Like, Tony Pollard ended up, 4-6 a carry. So, like, he was good in the game. But you're going to have to do it again against Indianapolis. And really, I think what it comes down to, like, can you force a couple turnovers? Like, it's one thing. I know they forced 4 against the Broncos. They were never going to move the ball in that Broncos defense. And look, the Colts have a good defense. I think we all would agree that they're not the Denver Broncos on defense. So can you force some turnovers if you're the Titans, steal some possessions that way? And then, like, you gotta punch it in at the end of the day. Like, they're talking all week, Joe, about, I think Jeffrey Simmons said yesterday they've played 8 quarters of football so far, and 2 of them have been bad. I guess I would largely agree with that. The problem is you can't do that in the NFL. Like, you can't just have a brutal quarter each game in the NFL and expect that you're going to win, particularly when you have this level or this lack of talent that's available to you.
Well, you can't squander opportunities in your good quarters. That's what they've been doing too. So even though you could call it like overall a good quarter, a lot of things to like, you still, like, if you're gonna mess it up when you have chances to score, then yeah, the margin for error is way too small for this team.
There is an interesting kind of discussion on Titans Twitter right now about penalties, right? So we know the Titans have taken a ton of penalties the first 2 games of the year. They took 13 against Denver. They took 10 against LA. So you talk about a key to a win. Let's try to keep the penalties to 5 or 6 against Indianapolis. See if we can't pull that off. That'd be nice to take a step in that direction. But there's a lot of discussion right now, Joe, about penalties and what exactly do they mean? Why are they happening? We talked with Kuharski yesterday about it, and he started talking about a lot of the penalties he thinks is just because they don't have any talent. And, you think about the false starts on the offensive line there, and why are they happening so frequently? Why did, John Njoku on Sunday, was he a big-time offender of that? It's because he's scared to death that he's going to get beat one-on-one in his matchup. I think there's something to that. I did see, and Joe, you sent this in a text to us yesterday, a stat that Justin Mello put out there talking about penalties. And I'll just read the tweet that Mello put out there. Quote, "I don't know how the Titans solved their penalty problem, but I found this fact very interesting. Mike Vrabel's Titans from 2018 to 2021, they were 41-24 overall as a record. Pretty good. And where they ranked during that 4-year span in penalties, 1st, 9th, 11th, and 13th. Did not take a whole lot of penalties. In 2022, 2023, they were 13-21 in Vrabel's last 2 years here, and they were 28th and 27th, respectively, in the league in penalties. So you saw a big spike in penalties going up. He said, we should agree Vrabel's one of the best at knowing / teaching the rules and coaching technique. Yet when he had a bad roster, he couldn't prevent them from committing penalties. Maybe bad players equals more penalties, and good players create penalties. The Titans have a bad rebuilding roster right now. So there's a lot of discussion about that. What do you make of that Mello threw out there?
Yeah, and he credited Jay Loma 72 for coming up with that for Titan sized. Well, that's part of. I mean, Karski was saying some of the same things yesterday, and it's very valid. I mean, again, it's like a lot of the things that we have an issue with in the early parts of the Brian Callahan tenure here, 2 games into year 2, are the same things that were issues at the end of the Vrabel tenure, right? So some of that is like years and years of screwing up picking offensive linemen, right? Yep. They both dealt with that. But I think there's definitely a lot to that, to the overall numbers being attributed to just you get beat downfield, you get beat trying to protect your quarterback, you get beat here or there, and then you have to commit more penalties to try to equalize it. I also would say this is where, again, watching it and context are important, because if you're going to make a huge deal out of it, which he did, which again, I understand why you would, like, you need this to change. And then you have so many operational and pre-snap penalties that most of them aren't related to that. I suppose you could say like a jump, because you're going to get smoked in pass pro. I guess that could fall into the category, but I still say any sort of pre-snap movement, mess up, illegal formation, that's just sloppiness.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like I hear that from Mello, and I think it makes sense, like in terms of the overall discussion point. And then I look at the list last year of like the most penalized teams in the NFL, and it's like, well, the Jets were number 1. That adds up. They're 5-12. Titans were number 2. That adds up. They're 3-14. Oh, the Baltimore Ravens are number 3. They actually tied with the Titans with 132 penalties taken last year. And it's like, well, Baltimore's 12-5, have probably at worst the 3rd, 4th best roster in the NFL last year. And yet here they are taking all these penalties. Like the Seahawks had the 6th most penalties in the league last year. They were 10-7. The Texans tied with the Seahawks for 6th. They were 10-7. So it's like, I don't know that it's a direct correlation to talent when you look at the actual numbers as it relates to penalties and win-loss record and all that.
Yeah. So then it's like, what kind of penalty? So, I mean, a Ravens fan might be like, yeah, we were such a mess. We should have been 15-2.
Right.
But, yeah, no, you're never going to have it's just all the least penalized at the top of the work. I would say over time, there's probably some correlation, or right, like probably more good teams are,
I would say so,
and low, and more bad teams are high. But yeah, it's never the numbers never exactly feed you the narrative you're looking for. So I think it's a very valid point. Like, all of these issues, you have to trace them. You can't like avoid talking about how bad the players are, right? When you talk about the Titans and their struggles, like it's always part of it. You can't divorce coaching from that completely and just say Callahan's just totally screwing everything up.
We'll take your thoughts on the Titans and the Colts coming up on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Plus the Nashville Predators opening up training camp today. We'll get into that later this hour. The Rob rant coming up as well. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This Sunday, the NFL game of the week on 94.9 The Fan is the Cowboys taking on the Bears at 3:25. NFL game of the week presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. We'll have the Rob Rant coming up at 7:45. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock, so looking forward to that. Joe, the Titans and the Colts coming up this Sunday. And by the way, if you're going to the game, stop by John Bon Jovi's before you head to Nissan Stadium. Join us for the pregame show with Big Joe, Derek Mason, and Chris Sanders from 9:30 to 11:30. Pregame show brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Old National Bank, Circa Sportsbook Kentucky, and Tennessee Brew Works. Joe, as PK said yesterday, you're looking at the schedule, and I realize Indianapolis is 2-0. And there's, like, if you want to make the argument, yeah, everybody's looking at the Titans right now and just chalking up a win. That's fine. I can't argue that. So that's cool. If you're the Titans looking at it and you're looking for a win, like an opportunity to win a game, this to me feels like the big opportunity, right? Like, you got a divisional rival at home. I understand that they're off to an incredible start. And maybe that's just what they are, you know? Maybe Shane Steichen is going to win Coach of the Year, and Daniel Jones is going to end up being the long-term quarterback for Indianapolis. I still have my doubts. Like, I need to see more of it before I'm a true believer that this is what the Colts just all of a sudden are. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens this Sunday. But, like, if you're the Titans, an opportunity here, like, I think Brian Callahan earlier this week, Joe, got asked about, like, basically desperation for a win. And, like, did you already have that? And he was like, yeah, like, we got desperation for a win every week. They've lost 8 in a row dating back to last year. And we can go through the numbers over the last 2 years, last 3 years. They're the worst team in the league during that stretch. So, like, to me, you know, we talk about finishing games. And I think a lot of times the inability to finish those games does come down to what we talked about, and that is you're just not as talented as the other team. And when you have the more reps that build up in a game, the more that talent discrepancy becomes evident, and the more likely it is you're going to lose those games. Like, to me, I would be very disappointed if the Titans don't have a real chance to win this game late in the fourth quarter. Like, that to me, you know, I picked them to win. I truly believe they're going to win, but I would be very disappointed if, you know, we're heading into the fourth quarter on Sunday and they're down by 2 scores. Like, to me, this is it. Like, you got to go out there and put together a performance worthy of winning a football game. When's the last time they won a freaking game at Nissan Stadium? New England last year?
Is that right? I think that
so.
is right.
I think it's the only one they won at Nissan Stadium last year.
Yeah. I mean, you know, look, this is critical. And I really do, as much as I'll make fun of it, probably pick against it and make sure to bring it up all the time if you're wrong. I do think that you're onto something for sure in terms of, you know, especially from the Colts perspective, like not having punted in 2 weeks, for example. Like, that's in the NFL, that precedes, like, you punt on your first 6 possessions of the next game, right?
It's too good to be true. Yeah.
Yeah, and Daniel Jones, you know, it's good for him. And look, I mean, the guy did lead the Giants to 10-win season and won a playoff game on the road. So it's not like he's never played any good football. It's just that he just isn't consistently good enough. And I think that'll end up bearing out. I think, again, or maybe he's one of these great reclamation stories. But I just feel like there's going to, even if that's the case, there's going to be ups and downs. And it's not like the Titans are the best team to provide it down, but they are desperate. They are home. And you just feel like this league, the way this league goes, it does set up pretty well for the Titans. They may be bad enough that it doesn't matter, but it sets up pretty well.
Yeah, like, it's, if you don't win Sunday, all of a sudden you get to 0-3. And Joe, you look at that schedule and it's like, well, you're going to Houston on the road. And I know you went to Houston on the road last year and won the game, but you're going to Houston on the road with pass rushers that just feel like they will give the Titans absolute fits, right? Like, it just feels like that's going to be a big problem for the Titans.
I'm not scared of the Arizona Cardinals, but they are 2-0, and it's going out there. Like, they're coming up. You don't win this game, and you start to look at the schedule and like, I mean, this is going to be. I mean, they're going to be. We talk about playing meaningful football games in late November. Remember that conversation before the season? Like, can you get to some meaningful games in the month of November? You lose this game Sunday, that's becoming way, way, way less of a likelihood that that's going to happen. And you just like at some point you gotta find a way. Whatever this team's best performance is, and I don't know how good it is, but whatever it is, we need to see it on Sunday. You got to find a way to put it together this week.
Yeah, look, they could be not too far into October and have lost relevance, I mean, which is a scary thought, but
it's hard doing the NFL.
I mean, it is. And again, we did talk about the schedule, and it would be better for them probably, or give them a little bit better chance if you could flip flop it or mix it up a little bit. But it's just how the schedule broke. And again, like if you want to be an optimist, the first two teams I think are really good, although Denver is not playing well. So Denver right now looks like they might end up being one of those overrated preseason teams. However, I still think two very talented teams, especially two very tough teams to deal with in terms of their pass rush. So, like there were good stretches. Like, I don't think Simmons is wrong what he said there. 6 good quarters of football. 25% is still not great. You can easily lose with that. And again, like you have to be able to capitalize on things. So they need, I think they need a couple big plays. Like you said, turnovers, of course, but like, some chunk plays too on offense. I think they need to
Ridley.
They get back.
This is a Ridley game.
Yeah, it's time for him to have it. So we're not talking about drops after every performance, and we're talking about him making some big plays, and that's there for him. Aya Manor is coming. I mean, the running the ball is going pretty well. The defense is, you get back to kind of having to cage rush a quarterback. Maybe that's better for the Titans because they're, it's like just keep them in there as opposed to you need to get to him because they obviously struggle to do that.
Yep. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. The Nashville Predators opening up training camp today, the beginning of a new season. A thought I've got on things that I haven't heard heading into this year. And we'll get your thoughts on the Predators, your expectations for this season. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vinkin will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circa Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football game. Head up there to watch the Lions and Ravens, plus ask about Circa's giveaway of a trip to Las Vegas for the Titans and the Raiders game that's coming up in October. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. Joe, the Nashville Predators opening up camp today, I guess technically yesterday, but they're on the ice today for training camp. And I was thinking about this on the way into work this morning. You know, last year, obviously you had the exciting summer. We don't need to relive it. We know who they signed, but it is an exciting time around here. And people were like waiting with bated breath for Preds training camp. They're like, all right, let's go. It's time to play some hockey around here. And we all know how the season went and it didn't work out well. I feel almost no buzz for the Predators right now. And I understand why. I'm not saying that it's surprising, but I do think it underscores an important point. And I heard Willie and Adam talking about this yesterday, and I think they're on to it. Like, it is so crucial for them this year to start fast. They've started really slow the last couple years, pretty slow in year one under Brunette, awful last year in year two. And that if that happens again, first off, the noise is going to get incredibly loud on Brunette just immediately if that happens again. But, like, I also think internally in that room, like, you don't want your confidence to just fall right from the jump. It would be really nice if they got off to a semi-decent start this year out there and just avoided total disaster like they've had the last 2 years. They were able to overcome it the first year. They didn't come close to overcoming that last year.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? David from Paris says, great, another team to totally let us down. More underperforming players and coach talk. It's too much. Yes, I know, David. It is
we'll see.
Someone needs to change it up. You know, the Titans weren't able to do that with the first 2 games, which is kind of like the first 10 games of a hockey season.
Yeah.
But very tough start. If it continues in the same path, yeah, like that's the thing last year. You know, I guess there was also still at this time last year when camp started, we didn't know what the Titans, right? We didn't know for sure yet. Like that Will Levis, I mean, it was pretty rough right away, but still, like there was a lot of season left. But then there was this excitement, and then now it's like total resignation with the Titans, and like you said, lack of buzz with the Preds.
Yeah. Well, like I may talk to them about this throughout camp here because I think like the psychology here is really interesting. You know, last year, basically, Joe, everybody was telling them how great they were going to be. Like, it was like, wow, you guys are going to be really good. And Brunette talked about that as the season went on, about how they just didn't handle that very well. And he was not, you know, there's just a lot of things that went on throughout the year that expectations they put on that were just so high and they didn't handle it well. And I understand if you're a fan, you hear that, you're like, well, yeah, why don't you grow up and be able to handle some expectations a little bit? I get it.
Especially when you're this old.
Right. Like, right? I get it.
Yeah.
So I understand that part of it. It's going to be the exact opposite this year. Everybody thinks they suck. Everybody. You're going to go through the predictions at the beginning of the year, and I would be surprised if you find anybody who picks them to make the playoffs. So, like, is that at all a factor? Like, you know, you still look at their roster, and it's like, well, you know, Forsberg bounces back, Yossi bounces back, Saros, probably more important than anybody, bounces back. You got a shot to hang around and be maybe a playoff team at the end of it. I don't know if anybody's going to go crazy and be like, this is a cup contender, because you look immediately at center ice and you're like, oh boy, that's just not very good. So I get that part of it, but it's going to be the exact opposite this year. Like, everybody is going to pick them to be one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. So if you're a coach, you would always pick that. You would always prefer this, right? Have something you can say to them, and man, I hope this individually pisses a lot of guys off, you know, and does something for them. So maybe that'll be good. The whole handling expectations last year, that's to me something you worry about with a really young, loaded team that hasn't experienced success or gone through all the ups and downs. And the Preds have multiple, like they have multiple cup winners, and they have even their own veterans have been to within 2 wins of a cup, and they've had good, been on good teams, on bad teams. Like that, I have a hard time buying that was some big problem.
Well, I think I even asked Brunette at one point last year. It was like, well, I mean, most of these guys have been on teams where they've had high expectations before, right? And have won. Like, Tampa, after they won the Stanley Cup, I guarantee you they had some high expectations next year. And I think Stamkos probably handled that pretty well, right? Like Marchessault, the expectations are outrageous in Vegas, and they handled it pretty well. And it's not just those two, like even homegrown guys, right? Like, hey, Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg have been on teams before where the expectations are pretty freaking high, and they've handled it well, right?
The 17-18 team, I mean, they go win the President's Trophy. You lose in the playoffs, but yes, handled it great. Built on a surprising cup run to kind of validate it. I mean, that's hard to do. So yeah, it's just, but maybe look, at this point, it's like grasp for anything that could possibly help these guys.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I'll be shocked if I see anybody who covers the league who picks them to go to the playoffs. I think that Brunette would, and I think on the whole, like, who's the coach in the hottest seat? I doubt he'll be lower than like 3rd on any of those lists.
Yeah, like again, it's why it's so important they cannot afford to get off to a bad start. Like, if they get off to a bad start, the noise is going to be so loud on him. And I think especially early in the season, Joe, we're going to be looking through such a microscope with them in terms of like Saros. Like if Saros has a bad game to start the year, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, is he ever going to be a good goalie ever again? Like, there's so much, I think, that people are just waiting on with this group to just reinforce the idea that they think that they suck. Like, there's a lot of like, Marchessault said this, and he said a lot of things at the end of his season media availability last year, which we talked about ad nauseum. But one of the things he did say was like, yeah, everybody's going to think we're going to be awful next year. And one of the things I'm interested in seeing is how do they handle that? Now, the mentality part of it, I think it's important. I do think that only takes you so far in professional sports, Joe. So let's say they've got that right mentality. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They want to go prove people wrong, all these things. All that's great. I think that's valuable. Are they equipped from a roster standpoint to do it? It's a big, like, when you look at their roster, number one, and everybody's going to be wondering, like, is Brady Martin going to make the team? We'll see. I kind of have my doubts, but we'll see what that looks like to start the year. And if not, like, there's so much riding with this team on Svechkov. So much. Because if he's just like a little bit better than he was last year, well, you look at their center ice depth and it's like, well, you got Svechkov, you got Eric Halla, who they brought in, you got Michael McCarron, you got Ryan O'Reilly. And I love Ryan O'Reilly. Ryan O'Reilly, Alex Doherty sent me a text message. It was funny the other day. Like, he's always out there working his game at all times. Like, he's just always on the ice. But Ryan O'Reilly at his age, and I think Barry Trotz would agree with this, like, by now, you probably want him downshifting in the lineup, and they just don't have anybody to do it right now.
And you can't. Yeah. I mean, that was the stated goal the day they signed him, and here we are, and you just can't do it, which is a big problem. I almost feel like it, for all the guys, obviously, like you said, they have a lot of guys who have done a lot of great things in this league. You want better seasons out of several of them, but I almost feel like it's like young players coming up early and showing clear improvement, I think, would be the thing that would probably get people most excited. Right? You got to have some hope with some guys. Like, I mean, Svechkov obviously is huge. Dennis asking about Evangelista. There's a guy who, to me, it's like we thought there'd be a step last year, and it was the wrong way.
Well, and
so where's that go?
Is he signing a contract? Like,
is he signing a contract?
There's it's a somewhat similar situation to Tomasino last year, and I think he may have signed like the day before camp last year or something like that. And then, of course, we know what happened. He gets shipped off. Like Evangelista, all the reporting around it is, I mean, it's not been very good in terms of the negotiation. Like, they're pretty far apart. So, I mean, look, it's hockey. That could change quickly. He may sign in an hour. So it can change pretty quickly. But I don't think he's got a whole lot of leverage. Like, he was not very
No.
good last year, and he's a restricted free agent. So I understand the cap's going up. I have no idea specifically what Evangelista is looking for, but like I see a lot of Predators fans first off like freaking out about this, and I'm like, well, right now Evangelista is a replaceable NHL player. I think he can be more than that. I hope he is more than that. But right now, like, it's a huge year for him. Let's say they get the contract worked out, and I don't think it's going to be a very long-term deal, but let's say they get it worked out. Like, it's a huge year for him to prove that he belongs in this lineup.
Yeah, I mean, by far the best case for them is that they figure that out. It's reasonable because yes, he can't have that much leverage other than the leverage is look at look at your lineup and like like they need him. To me, they need him to sign. They need him to bounce back and kind of continue his 23-24 progress. That's by far best case. Because yeah, they've got some guys coming up, but like you got to have one of these guys work out at some point, at least to a reasonable extent. I mean, I guess I've always just thought they'll figure it out right before camp, but I will be interested to see what it is. And he's, to me, really important this year. Guys like that, but he's just one. There aren't that many guys that, to me, young guys who have the upside he has right now.
Well, and by the way, we've gone through all of that. Like, there's a lot of storylines with this team heading into camp. We've gone through everything we just talked about. They got 2 new guys coming in on defense. So what does that look like? How much better defensively are they going to be? And then a huge one that I have no way of answering right now, and I don't think anybody does. I don't know if the Predators do. What's Roman Josi going to look like this year? How available is he going to be? I mean, first off, he's 35. So you got that part of it anyway. Like, is he still capable of being the same type of player that he's been at his age? And then you throw in on top of it the POTS diagnosis that he had this summer. And I just, he's, from everything I've heard, doing great, and he's in great shape. And I hope that that's the case throughout the whole thing. But what does that look like as the season goes on? How do they manage that?
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to be concerned, and again, the worst case scenario, which obviously involves him just diminishing / not being able to give you as much as you hope. I mean, the worst. There's a lot of guys, these older guys who we could start going the wrong way. And of course, as someone said in the YouTube chat, it's like Saros. Like, what is Saros done having? I mean, like, everything still revolves around also him being like Vezina level here for the next few years, right?
Right.
And obviously not close to that. I mean, and then you get into like, are they helping him more this year? Of course, that's important, but I still think there's a lot that's just squarely on him.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll have the Rob Rant coming up next. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
We need this team to win.
You know, it's kind of like being half pregnant. You know, forget that. We're all in.
Yeah, I think Rex Ryan in any foot story probably would fly.
We're fully pregnant now.
They think you're some buffoon.
Did I talk to Michael? Micah.
You get the gout, man. It's just there.
I'm not going anywhere.
Why can't he close the man door?
Let's go win some football games. Come on.
We're vibing, Robby. Vibing, 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 vibing. Vibe, 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 vibe. We're vibing, Robby.
It is that time of the day, the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode, brought to you by Functional Medicine of Tennessee. Rise up to better health. Check them out at functionalmedicineoftennessee.net. Joe, today, I do something I rarely do, and that is give the NFL credit at the expense of college football. So I'm watching Tennessee and Georgia on Saturday with amongst other college football games. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, there's another touchdown. That's great. Here comes a kickoff. Well, that kickoff's going out of the back of the end zone. They're going to start on the 25. Well, there's Georgia. Yeah, kickoff. That's going off the back of the end zone. You might as well just take the ball in college football most of the time when you're talking about the high-level teams and just place that sucker right at the 25-yard line, because they're either kicking it through the back of the end zone or they're kicking it so high in the air that the team's calling a fair catch and they're starting at the 25 anyway. And then on Sunday, you watch the NFL, and with all the tweaks and the changes they've made to the kickoff, including now if you kick a touchback, you're starting at the 35. There's kickoff returns all over the place. The kickoff return is back in the NFL. And I was curious, Joe, to see what the numbers looked like. And luckily, our friends at The Athletic have put some numbers together. So through the first 2 weeks, let's just start from last year. So last year, you know, they had the dynamic kickoff because they realized that the kickoff had become completely obsolete in the National Football League. And it was an uptick last year, but it was still only 32.8% of kickoffs that were returned last year. So while that was better than, you know, basically, I think the number before that was like 10 or something. It was crazy low. It was 32.8% of kickoffs returned a year ago. To me, like, that's still not enough. You're still talking about more than half the time on a kickoff. There's no return involved whatsoever. It's only 2 weeks to this point, Joe, so we'll see how this continues throughout the NFL season. But after 2 weeks in the NFL, 76.9% of kickoffs have been returned. 256 out of 333. That is a major jump from 32.8% last year to 76.9 through the first 2 weeks. The kickoff is fun again. The kickoff is an actual football play again. And I would urge college football, as they're trying to figure out all these other things. There's so much about college football that I love. The game, the flow of it, the way that it plays, it's just awesome. But we got to do something about the kickoff in college football. It's totally obsolete. It's totally boring. And this is an instance where they could learn from the National Football League.
Well, I think it's a great point. And also, this is where sometimes it's like, it makes me think last year of something stupid, but it kind of goes to the mindset, which is, you know, that this don't say 2-minute warning. You know, now that you have a 2-minute warning in college football, it's a 2-minute timeout. Like all the announcing crews were informed, and it became this big joke. Like, oh yeah, we can't say 2-minute warning. If you're college football, everything doesn't need to be exactly the same. And frankly, I think college football has the superior overtime. At least, you know, the starting from the 25.
Yeah,
they've done some weird stuff with that too. Like, we talk about player safety. That's the reason the NFL changed, is because the most dangerous play in football has been, and really is, you get 40 yards of running start, and you got two people going that fast. You know, some of the biggest, strongest, fastest people in the world going that fast, going opposite directions. So they've tweaked it so you don't have that running start. And then, like you said, they figured out this year how to make it so that there are returns, and it's good. Why would college football not automatically go to a safer model anyway?
Yeah.
Right? Like, just do it. Like, there's this, you know, and I think it's like sometimes maybe it's in the coaching ranks, like the coach association, you know, this resistance to doing that. To me, college basketball and college football both, like you should be as much like the pro version of your game as you can. Like go to the 24-second clock in college basketball. I mean, to me, like everybody wants to go to that league, right? So why not adopt things that make sense at least? You know, I mean, college football still has it's still illegal to like pull a player, right? Technically, whereas in the NFL now you can just everybody put Jalen Hurts up like it's a wedding, and you're putting like groom on a chair and just like, oh, I'll carry him to the goal line, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to see that in college
football.
football. Yeah.
Yeah, college football for sure. This is a no-brainer that should happen like right now. Should happen yesterday.
Yeah, I was pretty stunned by the number that it shot from the low 30s to 76.9% in the NFL. Again, it's 2 weeks sample size, but I mean, I think that even if it doesn't stay at that level, it tells you throughout the course of the season, Joe, that it's going to be a pretty high number of kickoffs to get returned. Because look, it makes sense. People look at it and they're like, yeah, I think I'll take my chances making a tackle than you just automatically starting on the 35-yard line. Like, I'll take my chance.
As far as viewership goes, I think it's working for me. Like I've noticed, especially after the first week, you used to, that was your chance to get up from the TV and kind of walk away.
Now that was a commercial, basically.
Yeah, you get up and walk away, and you feel like you missed something. You might actually feel like you missed an important play.
Right.
It's one of those things where you do feel like you're going to miss something, and it could switch something really quick, and you'll miss, all of a sudden you're in field goal range or something.
I mean, heck, even the Titans have made a big play on this sucker this year through 2 weeks. I mean, it's unbelievable. If they can do that, working great for the league. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will join us coming up next. We will get into all things NFL with him. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. This is actually hour number 3, so even better. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. As we do every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, we head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our buddy Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Charles, good morning. How are you?
What's going on, gents? Week 3 already. We're rolling.
We are rolling. We are hot and heavy into NFL action here. Speaking of rolling, Charles, the Indianapolis Colts rolling heading into this one, scoring touchdowns all the time. They haven't punted yet. They're 2-0, and they take on the Tennessee Titans this weekend. So what do you make of what we've seen from Daniel Jones and the Colts to this point?
Just like we all predicted, right? The juggernaut Colts. We all knew this was definitely coming. I mean, this is why I love the NFL, because the early storylines that we just can't believe are happening. And Daniel Jones. It's funny. I wrote something earlier this week just about how, like, betting on yourself for the third year in a row or fourth year in a row for a quarterback. I mean, go back and let's see. We had Geno in 2022, right, with the Seattle Seahawks. 2023 would have been, who am I missing here? We had Baker Mayfield, 2023. Last season was Sam Darnold, right? And now Daniel Jones. These guys that are like scrap heap guys. You think the starting days are either behind them or coming to an end. And, Daniel Jones now is already kind of setting himself up for potentially pushing the Colts to the table with a long-term contract. I mean, if you watch him right now, I mean, I'll say this, and it's sort of what reminds me of what happened with Darnold in Minnesota. Like, Daniel Jones was like a one-read guy. If you put pressure on him, he would look at one read, either make a mistake or just at that point it was over. Like, he was going to struggle to get to all of his progressions, and that's not what's happening right now in Indianapolis. Now they're protecting him, which is good. And he's got a fantastic running game, but you're seeing with his decisions, he's getting, through the route tree with guys. He'll go from 1 to 2 to 3. And that's really where Darnold kind of made that leap last year. He stopped being a one read and freak out, kind of quarterback. And, I think that's probably what the Colts are most excited about with Daniel Jones. Now, again, it's only 2 games. As much as, I mean, look, I was on the Broncos bandwagon. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we'll see if the Broncos live up to being what ultimately we thought they were going to be. I could have guessed that the Miami Dolphins would be a mess and that they would have a chance to potentially win that game. But, the way they're doing it is just, it's interesting because you see an offense where some of these guys were dormant and all of a sudden they're not anymore. You have like Michael Pittman, right? I mean, this is the time Michael Pittman was a very, very serviceable, good, number one receiver. And now he's back into that spot. Jonathan Taylor looks, dominant again. Tyler Warren's been fantastic. It's definitely been impressive to see. And, but we'll see how long this ultimately lasts. It's going to be the thing with Daniel Jones, like it was with Darnold last year, where we're like, okay, when's this fall off? It's going to fall off. When's it fall off? Is it going to fall off? And then, if he can sustain it, he's going to have a long-term contract there. And I, in some sense, I thought about when Ryan Tannehill was brought in and Marcus Mariota's, there in Tennessee. And it's like, all right, well, let's see. Can you win the job? And if you win the job, you win the contract, and let's go.
Yeah. So the reclamation project narrative is continuing and it's strong. And by the way, Mac Jones looked all right too. But meanwhile, Charles, I'd rather talk about young quarterbacks who are failing. But I mean, first of all, I guess let's just go and I know. Let's go back to some bad stuff. NFC North. First of all, the J.J. McCarthy thing in this great run late in the Bears game, but I think for the most part it's been pretty rough. And now people are asking Kevin O'Connell if this is actually a benching with his ankle sprain. Right. And then, of course, Ben Johnson, the Bears, they get treated like an FCS team in Detroit. And he's already he's talking about like practice habits of his receivers. And Caleb Williams seems to go one read like you're just talking about, and then all of a sudden just scramble around and look to make some ridiculous play. Where are we with these two?
Well, McCarthy's had one good quarter, 7 bad ones, right? Like objectively bad, and then one great quarter. And I don't think it's a benching. I think if you go back and you kind of look at, he definitely had the ankle like falling on it. It looked like a hip drop tackle to me when I went back and looked at the play that they ultimately identified. I think it's real that he's banged up. Now that said, it's maybe a little bit of a relief for them because they have a chance to pause and kind of see, get him wherever they want to get him mentally. But here's the thing, man, Carson Wentz is not someone without tools, right? He's not the ability, right? When he walks onto a field, he's got size, he's got arm, he's got experience. He does have a stint in his NFL career when, he looked like he was going to be a great franchise cornerstone player for the Philadelphia Eagles. But the biggest thing with him, it's always been every staff you talk to, they went through, or at least the last few, he's hard-headed, doesn't always take coaching well, doesn't carry over the coaching that he gets into games. And then, you can't seem to coach the sort of ridiculous things out of him where he'll throw a ball over his shoulder while he's getting sacked or, just plays where you're like, if you do that, I can't keep you as a starter. You just can't. Now, is he at a point in his career where maybe he's gotten through some of that and, he walks on the field with Minnesota and you're going to get Jordan Addison back, right? You're going to have a full deck there if you're the Vikings. Now, granted, the running back situation is banged up, but could Wentz go in there, play well enough that all of a sudden the Vikings are doing the same thing they did last year, which is to go, hey, you know what, we'll just ride it with this guy and let's see ultimately where this goes, and JJ will be fine, and yada, 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 and you play out what happened in 2024. Man, you really have to hope that's not the case, because I think if you have a situation where Wentz does well and kind of takes this team over, I don't know what happens with JJ at that point. It's not great. It's not the start, obviously, they wanted. And I'm sure they're a little bit worried. Chicago's, look, I'll say this. I don't think, especially against the Lions, I thought Caleb played a little bit better. I do think he's playing better. I don't think it's, he has shown on drives when he stays in structure and does what Ben Johnson tells him. He plays pretty well. He'll have moments, obviously, where he goes out of structure and he's running. And I think I'd put up a clip where, he gets pressured, he's out of the pocket, and he throws downfield, toward a player who he thinks is open, but he overthrows the guy by 8 yards, and Kirby Joseph intercepts the ball. And you can just see Ben Johnson shaking his head like, oh my God, okay, this is what I'm coaching the kid not to do. And then he's doing it. But I look, the defense was horrible in that game. I'd be more worried if I'm the Bears right now about just getting absolutely, have the brakes beaten off me and no shot at stopping the Lions in that game. So it's not just the offense. I think that's a problem there. So I think Caleb can ultimately be okay, especially when Odunze in that game, who, by the way, was a player that Chicago fans are writing off in the preseason, which is wild to me. They're like, oh, we need to have a conversation about Rome. I don't know. He kind of looks like he's not out there. Is he a bust? No, he's not. He's your number one receiver. Once you start treating him like your number one receiver, you're going to have nights like you did against the Lions where he's productive. So I'm less worried about Chicago than I am about McCarthy in Minnesota, because McCarthy in Minnesota just looks like, and especially when they can't protect him, it reminds me a little bit of Sam Darnold with the Jets, where it's just at what point does he start running for his life and he's playing scared? And then at that point, you're like, this might take years if he's ever, if you're ever able to turn him around.
So, Charles, where do you come down on all this Tom Brady stuff? Obviously, the video making the rounds the other night of him with the headset on and the coaches booth with the Raiders, and then you've got the NFL putting out a statement on Tuesday about, hey, don't forget he's not allowed to come into the team meetings of the facilities here. So,
right,
what do you make of that conversation and the conflict of interest and all those things?
I'm less I think I'm less worried tactically about, Tom being around things that, like tipping the Raiders to this game plan or that, or, here's what they're, now, can that happen? Sure. But what I think is agitating teams more is that, there are these kind of hard and fast tampering rules that teams really get pissed off if you run afoul of them. And that has to do with you not being able as a team to go out there and, especially in season, just start talking to guys, right? Picking their brains and, potentially vetting guys for jobs. Tom's in a position where he's got access to players. He's got access to coaches. He's got access to this wide array of individuals and other franchises where he can then go back to the Raiders and, John Spytek is general manager and say, hey, this guy, this player, it sounds like he's not happy. It sounds like, he may be on his way out of this franchise. It can sharpen maybe some of the things you do free agency wise about who realistically is going to leave. Like I'll get that question every once in a while when you get, toward the trade deadline, maybe you hear a name and I'll have like a GM ask me, is that real? Like, are they really interested in trading him? Does he really want out? And that's a real piece of information, data that can help a team succeed either at the negotiating table when you're trying to work a trade or, okay, maybe we stand down and wait till free agency because we have it in that he's definitely going to be leaving, has no interest in returning, that kind of thing. And then with assistants, if you have an ability to talk to opposing staffs, you can definitely come back and say, hey, this assistant, he's a guy I would go get. Here's a guy, if we're going to be looking for an offensive coordinator, here are these other assistants, in sub-coordinating positions who really have been impressive or, have it together. He's just getting access in a way to other assets and franchises that nobody else can, and the league has rules dictating that you can't do exactly what he's doing in terms of basically vetting and interviewing guys, players, coaches, whoever he wants. Other teams don't have access to that. So that to me is real. I think that's legit, and I don't think the complaints about it from some of the opposition, probably particularly in the AFC West, I don't think that's going to go away.
Well, I guess that was kind of my question, Charles, because, I was talking about this yesterday. And my biggest issue with this is for the consumer. Like we are forced already to have Brady, who's a mediocre analyst on the biggest games. And then we also know that he's not going to get insight that actually really helps broadcasts. But I guess I'm surprised that we're not hearing about more complaints, more anger about this around the league. I mean, it just doesn't seem like there's all that much. So I assume a lot of people are just like, yeah, it really doesn't matter that much. No one's going to tell them anything anyway. Am I right about that?
I think it's grumbling. It's kind of like, what do you think of that? When you talk to people about it, like when we did our 25 and 25, this list where we were like 25 influential people, Tom came up and he ended up on the list. I ended up writing about him as one of our 25. And there were a number of people who nominated him for the list because they said, look, he's not, number one, he's going to be in our faces as the number one lead broadcaster for Fox in perpetuity, as long as he's under contract there. But the other side of it was, he's going to be massively influential because of the fact that he has access throughout the league to these individuals. Now, I think ultimately when it becomes a real problem is when something tangible happens, right? And when I say something tangible, you get, Saquon Barkley talking about, having some conversation before he ends up ultimately in Philly, or Kirk Cousins talking to whoever it was, the athletic trainer with the Falcons before he'd actually signed with the Falcons, just something where, hey, some conversation, some player says, hey, talking to Tom when he came in for this game, really, I thought, hey, I want to go play for this guy, as an owner, a hands-on 10% stakeholder, I guess 5% stakeholder with the Raiders, then I think you start to have the league being pressed on, okay, we have a tangible, we have a line, A to B, it's here. Now we have it. This clearly is a conflict, and you should be taking umbrage about it. Right now, it's just this idea that, people are out of joint, that he's got this access that other teams don't. Something's got to happen, I think, ultimately, to make the league, change their stance on this. And I think the way the stance gets changed, it's not going to happen, I think, at Park Avenue. It's going to have to happen with some of these executive committee meetings where you have owners, it gets brought up, and then you have a number of owners who basically raise their hand and say, yeah, we should talk about this. I now have a problem with this, and here's why.
So, Charles, the Kansas City Chiefs are 0-2. Luckily for them, they have the New York Giants this week, so that should be fine. But they've got Baltimore after that. They got the Lions coming up in a few weeks. What do you make of what you've seen from Kansas City to this point, and do you feel like a significant drop-off from them could be in the fold this year?
Yeah, thank God the Giants are coming out of town, but also it's like Russell Wilson just had the game of
he did.
I didn't make zero sense to me watching Russell Wilson against the Cowboys. I'm like, there's no way this guy's still got this ability in him, and now he has this connection with Malik Neighbors. I will say that it at least makes the Giants slightly more dangerous. And normally, and again, we look at this and we say, well, luckily they've got the Giants on the schedule now. And we do that because of just historically the Giants have been inept, and Russell Wilson's been passed around the league now, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. But I don't know, man. When we look at the Chiefs right now, I still think they're an absolutely fantastic defensive team. There's no question about that. It's this idea now. Patrick Mahomes should not be leading your team in rushing, right, after 2 games, especially by a wide margin, right? And it feels like some of the time when we would watch Buffalo and go, man, Josh Allen's just got to carry everything for them to, to win games or to reach that sort of elite level. That's how the Chiefs are now with Mahomes, and I don't think that's a good thing. That's not an elite offense for them when it's like we're piling it all on Mahomes. He's got to make everything happen right now because of the fact that we have all these other issues on the roster, because we have a wide receiving core that lacks Rashee Rice, lacks Xavier Worthy. And so now we're trying to make, Tyquan Thornton into a thing. And, Hollywood Brown will throw him a million balls, but it's going to be for 6, 7, 8 yards. Travis Kelce, it looks like his last season to me. I don't mean to be harsh about it, but I don't think he's ever going to regain that superstar elite tight end vibe that he had, a couple of seasons ago. And and then also, by the way, their offensive line, we've got issues along the offensive line where I still think there's protection concerns, and they're vulnerable. There's no question, in my mind when I look at them and how they're structured. And I think for Kansas City's fans, when you listen to them, it's this idea that Rashee Rice is coming back, after 6 weeks and everything's going to go back to normal. I understand how you think that. I don't know if that's true, and I've had this argument with Frank Schwab here where Frank's like, they're going to be just fine. He'll come back after 6 weeks and, that offense will hit its stride. We won't be talking about this in December and January. Maybe he's right, but I think you're rolling the dice to just assume that your number one wide receiver is going to jump back in and change everything for you. And I'll say this, they can't run the football. They just can't. They cannot run the football. And that bothers me about this Chiefs team. And if there's one thing I would like to see them do by the trade deadline, go find a good top tier running back and maybe you can peel off a roster. Maybe the Dolphins are in the tank and you're calling about A-Chain and saying, hey, can we get that guy? We'll move heaven and earth and picks to bring that guy in, because what they have now isn't it. And I think even if they do get themselves kind of righted, the running game is going to end up being a problem in the postseason.
Actually, like that idea. I will say A-Chain, then like Rice and Worthy back.
I mean,
they
yeah,
might look a little different.
Yeah, the speed. I mean,
if it gets to that point.
Yeah, I mean, he's dynamic. Especially with Andy, it's sort of like what Edwards-Helaire never became for them. I think A-Chain could. And again, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm staring at the Dolphins and going, what pieces can we potentially take? I don't know that you'd really want to go back and get like Tyreek Hill, because I don't think physically he's where he used to be, unless you're like, we'll do it as a rental to the end of the season and hope that maybe he comes back in and there's a spark and it conjures some of this old mojo we used to have. But if I was the Chiefs, I'd be looking at the Dolphins and saying, let's hope they tank out, toward the trade deadline and see if we could peel a good player off their roster offensively.
Charles, you mentioned obviously the Wentz. I guess I kind of expect him to be a bleep show, but it's an interesting, that obviously that was they got him late. He's the answer now. I did look around, when some of these injuries, the Bengals, it looks like they're going with Browning, but was two guys come to mind. You mentioned him earlier, Ryan Tannehill, still not retired. Like, does anyone ever talk about him anymore in the league? And then also,
you are Tannehill's agent. You are.
Come on.
You are Ryan's
Don't start
agent.
that.
Bring this up, Joe. Every year, you're like,
well, he just never retired, All right, okay, fine.
Had played football 2 years, but Rexrode's determined to get him back on the field.
He just needs to get one ring. But also Cousins. Like, is there any when one of these injuries happens, and we know there'll probably be more, that someone might be like, okay, now I gotta call Atlanta and really try to throw something at him.
Well, and honestly, the two situations you kind of think about is, well, let's say Wentz is a bleep show, right? That you think he's going to be a bleep show. And if that happens, you're like, okay, do they go back to McCarthy, or do they think about making a call on Kirk? Because Kirk would love to go back to Minnesota. He's made you did it on the documentary, the quarterbacks documentary. He's told everybody on earth that he misses Minnesota, his family misses Minnesota, and that, he never wanted to leave. And I think Kirk would tell anyone in that organization, I will come back and then I will take the backup position behind JJ McCarthy when he's ready. Like, let me come in and help you get him where he needs to be. I'll be his best friend on earth and help you, get this guy prepared, and I'll finish out my career as a backup for the Vikings. I think Kirk would absolutely be interested in that. That's one that I would, is it a small percentile chance? Yes, absolutely. I would still keep an eye on it, because the Vikings know they have a good enough team. If they can just fix this, they have a good enough team to be an NFC. Look, even if they've got to salvage it to become a wild card, I think they know they've got some runway here where things can go wrong and they can still fix it with the right move at quarterback. And by the way, Brian Flores, I wonder if there might be a little nervousness inside the franchise. They're going to lose Flores, because he's played. I mean, he is doing so well right now as a defensive coordinator, and thought of so highly. It may be able to overcome the lawsuit against the league, and there may be a franchise out there just says, screw it, let's go get him. And then the other scenario, I thought, when Purdy went down, I thought, okay, if this is long term, immediately I thought, I wonder if Kyle makes a call on Kirk, because he's always loved Kirk, always had a high, opinion of Kirk, and at some point, was going to be willing to take that shot and try to get him off of the Falcons roster. But A, it looks like Purdy will be back by week 4. And then B, I think what's going to jam this up is the Falcons know they have some leverage now when teams are calling, and they're going to try to get teams to eat a solid chunk of Kirk's salary. And I don't know that doesn't kill, most of the talks for teams. And when I say a solid piece of Kirk's salary, I mean, I'm like, we're talking about double digit millions, like, in excess clearly of, 10 million, 15 million. They're going to try and get teams to take as much as they possibly can.
Charles, great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us here on the program today. And we will talk to you next week to see if the Titans can take down the mighty Colts.
Are you guys, so before we go, I mean, Cam Ward's first touchdown pass. I didn't even get a response when I told you guys over text that as I'm watching that, I'm like, oh God, he's going to throw it. Like, he's going to throw this ball. And this is just like Miami, where you would see him looking, like just he's looking for that big play, and then he connects, which was awesome. It was amazing. It was fun to watch, but it was definitely a moment where I'm like, don't do it. Don't throw that. It's going to be a mistake. And he how are you feeling about that?
Oh, I love it. There's such a lack of exciting football around here. Try some stuff. I'm cool with it.
Okay. All right.
It's one thing to hold on to, Charles, on the sea of.
You got to watch this crap every week.
Yeah. Just that one little nugget. They keep replaying it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, it's, I just don't want to hear Robby complaining when, Cam really gets some momentum and we're in like late November and all of a sudden it looks like, hey, Brian Callahan's going to be fine. And I don't want to hear Robby complaining at that point.
I ain't worried about that. No.
Cam saving Brian's job.
You will hear it. It will happen.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll react to what Charles had to say. Coming up next, take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. The Commodores returning to First Bank Stadium this Saturday, taking on Georgia State. Pregame at 5 o'clock on 1025 The Game. Kickoff at 6:30. Vanderbilt football brought to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. I got some tickets to give away. A pair of VIP tickets to the Nashville Oktoberfest for Sunday, October the 5th. To caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Caller 3 will win a pair of VIP tickets to the Nashville Oktoberfest for Sunday, October 5th. You can get away from the crowds, kick back and relax in their comfortable seating area while you enjoy unlimited food and drink. So make sure you get in on that. Appreciate Charles Robinson in the last segment for being with us. Joe, it is interesting. You do have the 0-2 Kansas City Chiefs. They have the Giants coming in, and Russell Wilson just threw for 450 yards in a game against the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll see what that looks like. My guess is he's not going to do that against the Kansas City Chiefs, but they do look vulnerable. I think that's probably the right word, like that Charles used there. Vulnerable for the Kansas City Chiefs this year.
Yeah, I'm probably somewhere in between him and Schwab. I love the idea of getting a back. Like Pacheco's a good back. I do also think they're a pass to run team. You know, when you really have it going, which it just seems like it's been forever since the Chiefs have.
Yeah.
But I think that does open things up. But to his point, Edwards-Helaire wasn't what he was supposed to be. Going to get like a real difference maker. Like when Kareem Hunt, and he's still like okay now, but like when he was in his prime, before all this stuff happened with him, I mean, that was a big part of their success. They're pretty bad. And, you know, you have Kelsey, who's actually been okay this year, but then he drops the one at the goal line. I think they win that game if he catches that and barrels into the end zone. So I don't think, like, again, that's the Super Bowl champion Eagles. The Chargers clearly are good this year. I do think there's a little bit of, like, they have played two really good teams. One who I think is better, and I think Justin Herbert may have taken a step. And then again, it's the freaking Eagles. But I think it's also like they've been so stagnant offensively for so long and reliant on their defense. It's hard to even, it's like, is there something beyond just not having good receivers, you know?
Right.
Like, is there something going on with Mahomes? You mentioned it. Like, he seems like he's missing deep shots. Is that because of the receivers? And, you know, I still would like to see that team with both Rice and Worthy for a few weeks. And I'm hesitant to just count them out from going on a run this year.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to count them out, but like they're not some infallible team out there. Like I think we got to get past the point of, well, it's Mahomes, so they're going to be in, like they're going to be in the Super Bowl again. Like, well, I don't know. Like they got some problems, and they got a good defense, but their offense has been bad for a while. Like they've had a bad offense like 2 years in a row by their standards, especially. And like at some point that catches up to you, I think.
No, I agree. Look, if you really look at the last 2 years, they've been really carried by their defense. And it was just that one day they go into Baltimore. I thought Baltimore was going to beat them and go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But they just rose up and played a great game. You know, they played a great defensive game first of all against him. And then just made a couple just like vintage, like, and that's where you get the whole, well, it doesn't matter what we think. Look, there they go.
Right.
You know, even if they look bad, the last 2 years they've had bad offenses, like for their standards, and they've been mid, and they've gotten the Super Bowl both years. But yeah, like at this point, if you tell me the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be in the Super Bowl, first of all, the fatigue level around the league will be just astounding, and also it's just hard for me to buy. I just think it's either Baltimore or Buffalo this year. And it's like you're disrupting the natural order of things if that's not what ends up happening.
No Indy?
Well, I mean, they'll at least make the AFC title game, of course.
Okay.
As Ben with two N's and Indy Ben would tell us.
I mean, it was interesting to get Charles's thoughts on that too. I mean, there's no doubt Daniel Jones has been really impressive to this point, and what's it going to look like as the season goes on? We'll see. Like he made basically the Sam Darnold comp of, are you just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop at some point? If you're somebody watching Daniel Jones, me, yes, I am, but maybe not. Like maybe on his third stop, he gets away from the Giants. He spends some time as a backup in Minnesota around Kevin O'Connell, and maybe that was really beneficial for him. And he gets to Steichen's system, and it's a good fit. It's been a great start. We'll see if they can keep it up. I think the most interesting point Charles made about all that is the wide receivers. Like the wide receivers, if you're the Colts, have been dealing with quarterback play the last few years.
that has just been so bad that it's hard to really know what they are. So if you can get competent quarterback play, I'm not even talking like great quarterback play, but if you can get competent quarterback play, well, how good are Indy's receivers? That's going to be interesting to watch all year long, how that develops, whether it's Pierce or Pittman or whoever.
They're pretty good, like they're not amazing, just jump off the page, but they are pretty good. And I look at this matchup and it's like, I mean, they have multiple guys, like they have multiple guys who can make plays at the expense of the Titans. And we know Titans struggling to cover Indianapolis Colts tight ends. I mean, is that not part of the franchise DNA? By the way, I know it's early, but can I just look back and laugh at people who were saying Colston Loveland was going to be better than Tyler Warren? I understand it's early and like the Bears have their own issues, but like he's not. Like let's not. It reminds me of like Scadaboo. Sometimes you get so hung up on measurables as opposed to watch someone play football. Tyler Warren is a freaking beast, and I think he could be a real problem for the Titans Sunday and a problem for the league moving forward. When they got him, I was like, yeah, that's a good pick, man. That's a good pick, and he's going to be a problem for people for a long time, and it's immediately, I think, bearing out.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More reaction to what Charles Robinson had to say. We also have some thoughts from Barry Trotz at Predators training camp, some news items on the Predators to get to as well. We will do all that coming up next. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. at Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse this Friday as they celebrate the opening of their all-new rooftop dining area and bar. It's also a great place to go before the big Vanderbilt game coming up this Saturday night as well, so make sure you keep that in mind. There's Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
The Blue Raiders will host Marshall this Saturday at Floyd Stadium at 6 o'clock. You can catch all the action on Totally Hits 93.3 with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. Joe, as we mentioned earlier, Predators training camp underway today. Barry Trotz addressed the media earlier this morning, and a couple of news items there. Number one, Luke Evangelista is not on the ice today. They are still going through a contract dispute, and Luke Evangelista, I guess until he's signed, not going to be out there. So Barry Trotz also said it's not even a thought of trading Luke Evangelista at this point. So that contract situation is still ongoing. Joe, on the positive front, they did bring up Roman Josi, obviously, and his POTS diagnosis that we discussed earlier in the show. Says that Josi, quote, feels great and that his ailment is, quote, not an issue at all. He's in a great place right now. So that is good news on the Roman Josi front. It looks like he is doing very well, and hopefully that continues throughout the year.
Yeah, no doubt. I still have doubt, with just his age, the concussions, but there's no world that I can see in which he misses significant time and this team has any chance at all. And also then, like, what is his ceiling as a player right now, even if he does get through healthy this year? I mean, still great player, but what is the ceiling? How far down has it come from a guy who's in the 2, 3, 4 guys mentioned for the Norris?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. And I thought even beyond the injury stuff, I mean, he was just like everybody else last year. He had a down year. Like, Josi was not as good as we're used to him being last year. So is that a sign of his age and him deteriorating as a player? Or is that just as simple as everybody else and they all just were bad at the same time? Like, does Roman Josi does he return to being an elite player this year? We'll see on that front. I want to read this quote that Barry Trotz said, because the end of it's pretty funny. Said, quote, I want to be competitive. I know our core is going to rebound. Can we be a playoff team? Yes, absolutely, but we got to find a way. He said, I'm not going to tell you where we're going to finish. I just know we're going to be a better team. And at the end of all these quotes, Joe, it says, quote, we've proved the experts wrong 2 years in a row, and we're hoping to make it 3. This is from Barry Trotz. It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And that is, if anyone wants to get mad at him for that, that is a joke.
Yeah, it's just a joke.
But I think it's good to have you got to have a little levity. Got to have a little fun with what's going on. And he's exactly right. They have absolutely defied expectations.
2 years ago, everybody thought we were trash.
Baby.
We made the playoffs, gave a good series against Vancouver. Last year, people were handing us the Stanley Cup in July. And boy, we barely won a game. It's just amazing how things happen.
Do they ever need a third straight year of that? If they get it, I mean, I wonder if the Preds will start becoming like Kirby Smart, and just trying to create an alternative universe where everybody says they suck all the time.
Yeah, like somebody pick us to go 10-72. Well, we'll see if we can't turn that around at that point. So we will keep
I'm sure that will be better than that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure they will too. We will keep you up to date on the latest throughout Predators training camp here on 102.5 The Game. Joe, the Bills and Dolphins coming up tonight on Thursday Night Football. A real treat for us all. Bills an 11.5-point favorite on Thursday Night Football tonight.
Yeah, it's just I hate the choice. I hate the choice. And I don't know all the ins and outs of the networks and picking and choosing games and all this stuff. There's a lot of rules that go into effect. There's a lot of considerations, but you want more Thursday night games that are really compelling and are like, oh, that's a really good game this week, which we've had so far. And even if the Dolphins weren't the total bun show that they've been so far, I just, anyone who looks at the recent history of these teams, it's never competitive. They're having an amazing year, and the Bills took them apart a couple years ago. It's just such a throw. If it was in Miami, then okay, but that game in Buffalo, I mean, I'll start watching it and see if maybe like Tua can come up with some magical. But he just never plays well against the Bills. He's not playing well in general. I mean, he did play better against Vrabel, by the way. But yeah, it's just going to be a blowout. There's so many better games on the schedule. I can pick 5 games right off the top of my head that I would have preferred to see as a Thursday night game.
Let me ask you this question, because it'll never happen at this point because of the money and everything involved with it. Would you be sad as an NFL fan to see Thursday night football go away?
Yeah, kind of, because sometimes like it's awesome, right? I would say this and I know some people are NFL fans and they're not college football fans. But to me, 2 things. I hate when there's no good game. Like tonight, there's not a good college game. It's like Rice Charlotte, and there's a bad NFL game. I also kind of hate it if there's a good college game and my attention is diverted, right?
Yeah.
So I guess if you could get it to where, like, and again, this is like college football. Like, what if they actually negotiated a deal, which would require the sports broadcasting had to be changed and all this stuff. But anyway, where they actually negotiated the Power 4 schools all together, they'd make more money. And also maybe you could get it to where like there's actually good Thursday college games every week, and then it would be less of a problem. But like you said, the NFL is not going to do it anyway.
They're not going to do it. My answer though is no. I would not be sad. Send it into the sun. We don't need Thursday night football.
But sometimes it's good.
Sometimes. Most times it's a bad game. And not even just matchup wise. It's like, I know you guys just played football 3 days ago and you can barely walk right now, but let's go try it again on Thursday night.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. Good text, unnamed texter, Miami Dolph Buns.
There we
That's
go.
a totally missed opportunity, but thank you for making sure we got that in before the show ends.
We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman. Coming up next, this is 102.5 The Game.